at a high level. But when you talk about raw arm power, there's nobody I've seen that could throw like the deep out and the deep comeback and all those things better. I mean, he could throw it through a brick wall, and I don't think accuracy is a huge problem. I think there's some things he can fine tune there, but more than anything, it was just kind of live bullets that he was missing.
I got another two-parter for you. What's the now we hear every time, especially in NFL draft time, you hear the rankings don't matter, the 3-star, what matters, what don't. What's the difference, Mike, between, let's say, a low-level 4-star and a 5-star? And then the second part of this is, what do you see about the dominant or the 4 or 5? Really, I say 5-star defensive tackles and offensive linemen. What do you see that make those guys 5 stars?
Okay, so we grade our rankings based on the draft, and people always say, "Well, why do you do that? They're playing college football." Well, the only rubric we can hold ourselves to is the NFL draft. That is like the results that we can say, okay, we put it this way, they were drafted this way. That's it. Our ranking stuff ends the moment they're drafted. I don't care what they do in the NFL. It doesn't matter if they're good, bad, or indifferent in the NFL. Where they are drafted kind of to us is a grade on where we rank them. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is like, how do you define college success, right? Like if we rank a guy a 5-star and he's a 6th round pick, but he made an all-American team or an all-conference team, do you consider that successful? Because a lot of those all-American teams and things like that, they're politically they're subjective. They're people voting on them. That's not a way for us to codify. So when we look at guys, 5 stars are to us guys who are no doubt first-round talent. We have 32 of them, and that mirrors 32 first-round picks. We think that all those guys are potentially at their ceiling. First, the talent just says it, and a lot goes into it. It's a lot of analytical data we look at. It's not just, hey, we watched the film and this guy passed the eye test. It's, what are his verified measurements? Do we have a wingspan on him? What does a first-round pick look like at the defensive tackle position? We go back and study 3 or 4 drafts worth of knowledge and say, okay, this is what the average height was for those guys who were drafted in the first. This is what the average weight was. This is what their average wingspan was. On average, those guys played both ways in high school. On average, those guys probably threw shot put, and they threw at this numbers. I don't know exactly what the number for shot put is. I think it's probably like 48. This is the number that we're putting as the benchmark. Anything over that, we think is pretty good. And we kind of like boil it down that way. And it's not the best way to, I don't want to say it's not the best way. It's not 100% fail proof, but I think for us, when you're playing a game where you're going to have misses regardless, right? There's going to be guys we rank high that just bust regardless. That's probably the safest way to go about it, is to bet on the numbers and the trends and what's going on. Like a big trend going on right now that we've noticed over the past couple of years is linebackers have gone from being, 6'3", 240 to 6'1", 225. And, I think we read that of the top 3 rounds in the last 3 drafts, over 70% of those guys were under 240 pounds in college. And so it's like, okay, well, when we look at linebackers who are 240 in high school, we just don't see them as linebackers. It's those kind of things that go into it. I think that's one big part of it. When you ask, like, what's the difference between a 5 and a 4, is those 4-star players, and I'll really get into this rant on 3-star players because it gets thrown around a lot. Well, this guy was just a 3-star. It's like, we think a 3-star player is pretty good. There's always going to be more 3-star players than anything because the vast majority of guys are going to be 3-stars. The elite of the elite are 5, the next step down are 4, and then the majority of guys are going to be 3s. So if you look at, we have a rubric on the site that basically says what each rating means. And the 3-star, like a high 3-star, says we expect him to be a significant contributor at the college level, to be an all-conference level player, and to have significant NFL draft upside. Like that sounds pretty good to me, right? If you're a football player. But kids see 3 stars and they think, well, that's bad. And, a number of things separate those. I think it's, size it's a size and speed game. So what is your size like and what is your speed like? We're a verified company. So if you tell me you run a 4.4, I need you to show me. I need you to show me a 10.6 on the track or something like that. That's what's big with us is we like to look for verified athleticism. And so when you say like what's the difference between a mid to low 4,